Jerry Jones still hasn't won 25 years later. Once they figured out, oh, Jerry, yeah, you put in a salary cap, and now you get around the salary cap by prorating signing bonuses. And so you have Deion Sanders. But now we can all do that. And since everyone leveled the playing field, Jerry Jones, no championships. Can't try to win a certain way, right? But Dr. Jerry Buss did. He's the greatest owner by far in the history of American team sports. Drafts Magic Johnson, starts winning championships. And I mentioned the other day that Jeanie Buss deserves, congratulations, Jeanie Buss, you first female owner to win an NBA championship. And I got a lot of stuff on Twitter about, well, she inherited the team. What did she have to do? She got LeBron. First of all, she inherited the team. Let me continue the story. So Dr. Buss, practically on his deathbed, right? But as the end was coming near, made it clear that he wanted, I always interpreted the way he wanted this structured. Jim Buss is in charge of basketball operations, Jeanie the business, she's really the boss, and different children with different jobs. I think he was using the Lakers, which was a family business, to keep his family together after he was gone. He wanted Jeanie and Jim to have to work it out, to have a functional franchise. And Jeanie did her best to respect her father's wishes. There were great calls for her to get rid of Jim Buss, who people felt was not doing a good job. And she didn't. She used to come on Max and Marcellus in L.A. and explain why she wouldn't. And it was pretty obvious, right? Her dad wanted this to be this way. She loved her father, great respect for him. She kept Jim Buss on for 4 years. He self-imposed a deadline. If by this date we're not contending for a championship, I'm going to step down. The date came and went. Weren't even making the playoffs. It was time to go. Jeanie got rid of him as in charge of basketball operations. Okay. So that she's now owned the team for 7 years. The first 4, she was following her father's wishes to make it a family business. And as I said, I always thought Dr. Buss did that because in order for the siblings to make it work, they'd have to love each other. They'd have to communicate. They'd have to be a family. Remember when they made that Chris Paul trade, Jim and Mitch Kupchak pull off this Chris Paul trade, but Jeanie's in New York at the owner meeting. And Jim and Mitch did not take the pulse of the league. That was not the time to, it was going to ruffle feathers, in other words. They needed to smooth things out, but because Jeanie and Jim really weren't communicating, they didn't know. They pull off this deal. All the other owners get upset. They're crying about it, and the league undoes the deal. Maybe Dr. Buss would have had a defter touch and pulled it off in a way that the league would have swallowed it instead of rebelled against it. But at any rate, it wasn't working. After 4 years of futility, she gets rid of Jim. Now, that was 3 years ago. Jeanie Buss has owned the team with the handcuffs off for 3 years. She just won a championship in 3 years. And I don't want to hear she inherited the team. You know who else inherited the team? Jim Dolan inherited the team. Jim Dolan's daddy bequeathed him the Knicks. Has it been 3 years and he won a championship? It's been decades, and the Knicks are a pathetic laughingstock. We're going to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and everyone. You got Julius Randle. Julius, at the time I was saying, you better not just wind up with Jimmy Butler. They'd have been lucky to have Jimmy Butler. Look what he just did. Julius Randle, not Kevin Durant.
Man, you cold-blooded, Max. You know the Knicks fans were just listening. They just listened to the story of the Buss family going down memory lane with you, and then bam, you just blast the Knicks out of nowhere, man. You cold-blooded.
The point is, I don't want to hear she inherited the team. And then they say, well, it's not just that she inherited the team. It's that she has L.A. Come on, if you have L.A., of course, it's easy. Really? How many times have the Clippers been out of the second round? How many conference finals have the L.A. Clippers even played in? Don't tell me it's just Los Angeles. The Clippers play in the same building as the Lakers. The Clippers, Marcellus used to argue this on Max and Marcellus all the time. Around the league, people wanted to not just pass the torch, carry the torch. They wanted to light their own torch. It would be more significant for many stars to start a legacy of championships with the Clippers in LA than just to continue it and be one of the cavalcade of stars with the Lakers. It's not about just being in LA. They have another competently run team in LA. Bomber, Doc Rivers, until recently, Kawhi, Paul George, before that, Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and Chris Paul. They've never been to a conference finals right there in the same building, right there at Staples. Don't tell me it's inheriting the team. Jim Dolan inherited his team in the number one market in the country, even bigger with more resources than LA, and they're a pathetic, laughing-stock joke. Jeanie Buss inherited the team, and 3 years after getting the handcuffs taken off, being a good daughter and a good family member, trying to keep it together, probably a year longer even than she should have, tried to make that work for 4 years when it was absolutely clear it wasn't going to work. She took the handcuffs off, and 3 years later, the Lakers just won the championship. Everyone shut up and just congratulate Jeanie Buss. You wish she owned your team. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.